Hello and welcome to The Reload, your weekly recap of all of the gaming news and a quick look at what's coming up over the next week. I'm of course Carl, and without any further ado, here's what happened. The week began with some sad news, as the world learned that Masaya Nakamura, the founder of Japanese publisher Namco, passed away on January 22nd. As founder of the Nakamura Amusement Machine Manufacturing Company, later shortened to Namco, he was responsible for bringing arcade titles such as Galaga, Pole Position and Pac-Man to the world. The company would go on to be publishers for hit console games Tekken, Ridge Racer and Soul Calibur, and since its merger with Bandai has published hits like the Tales of series, Ni no Kuni and the Dark Souls series. A monumental figure in our industry, the father of Pac-Man will be greatly missed. Final Fantasy fans celebrated the series' upcoming 30th anniversary on Tuesday morning, as the FanFest kicked off in Tokyo. While there were some interesting announcements such as a new Distant Worlds tour, which Matt and I are totally going to, woo! A release date for the first Final Fantasy 15 DLC, which isn't as exciting, but woo! And the reveal of the Final Fantasy 13th anniversary wine set. Okay, that's a little weird. But expensive. However, the big news was that Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age on PS4 finally has a release date on July 11th in Europe. The remastered title will feature brand new content that wasn't available originally in the West, including the International Zodiac job system and a re-recorded soundtrack. See, I was kinda hoping with the re-release of Final Fantasy XII they'd put in more interesting characters, to bounce off the fantastic Balthier and Fran. What I'm basically trying to say is that, oh dear God, Vaan was boring. Ugh. In other announcement news, Bethesda Softworks announced that The Elder Scrolls Online will be getting its first proper expansion, and that it will be set in the fan-favourite region of Morrowind. Along with the 30 hours of new content, the expansion will introduce a brand new Warden class that has ice-based defensive skills and can summon a frickin' bear. Thanks to the One Tamriel update, it means that newcomers can buy the Morrowind expansion and start with the brand new content, before heading back to the previously released zones. New arena-based PvP was also announced, where 3 teams of 4 players will face off in familiar modes like Capture the Flag and Domination. Man, well, I can't wait to re-explore the continent of Morrowind. I'm more looking forward to rekindling my absolute hatred for cliff racers. The jerks. EA held their end of financial year investor meeting last week, in which they reflected on the last 12 months and discussed what products are currently in the pipeline. This meant that a few unannounced projects were teased, including a brand new IP from Bioware. Details are rather lean right now, but we do know that it won't be an RPG, but an action-adventure title that will release in spring 2018. Studio head Aaron Flynn acknowledged the news in a blog post on the BioWare website, stating that the studio had been working on it since 2012 and teased that it will be something fun and new for you to enjoy with your friends. See, as long as it's not Shadow Realms with its ridiculous asynchronous multiplayer, I think we're going to be fine. The long-running legal battle between Oculus and ZeniMax seems to have finally reached its epic conclusion. For those not in the know, it all kicked off when ZeniMax felt Oculus were stealing its technology and trade secrets to build the Rift VR headset. Or more specifically, they were using John Carmack, who used to work at ZeniMax-owned id Software, to build the device. While the jury did decide that Oculus didn't misappropriate trade secrets, it did find that Oculus co-founder Palmer Luckey did violate a non-disclosure agreement, and as such, the court awarded ZeniMax a whopping $500 million in damages. It's a far cry from the $6 billion ZeniMax were actually after, but a win's a win. Now, I'm not a big city lawyer, but it seems to me that that's a shitload of money. Damn, son. The new travel ban that stops people from specific countries traveling to the United States of America has already faced backlash from a number of developers over the last week, but it's starting to affect the industry events like GDC, which is taking place in San Francisco at the end of February. To combat this, publisher Devolver Digital has announced that they will be taking submissions from developers who are now unable to attend and will promote their work for them in the developer's absence. Fun fact, Final Fantasies 1, 2 and 3 were programmed by an Iranian developer, same guy who actually did work on Secrets of Mana, so how about we just take a step back and look at this travel ban as the dick move that it is. In the world of Korean esports, 2 professional Overwatch players have been suspended for 60 days after they were caught engaging in online affairs with several female fans. Lee Tae-jun and Hwam Dong-kwon of the team Lunatic High were forced to publicly apologise for their actions, which also included lying when accusations first emerged. Not only is this behaviour frowned upon within Korean esports, as it is seen as taking advantage of the audience, but it turns out to be a huge cultural faux pas as well, so these 2 esports competitors now have a huge black mark on their records. See, at least you know with Premiership footballers that they're not going to go after fans like that. No, they'd go after each other's wives, keep it nice and tidy. And finally, much in the same way that Rocket League made RC cars cool again, they're now going to do the same thing to pull back toy cars. Sonics have announced that they've partnered with Zag Toys to release a line of 12 pullback cars based on the various in-game battle cars, all housed in their own Rocket League balls. While this might seem like a completely irrelevant way to end the gaming news roundup, there is an actual link. Each of these toys will come with a code that adds a special rocket trail and wheel for players to use in the actual game. So, in the words of the quick chat options, holy cow, nice shot. And that's it for this week's news roundup. Of course, if you want to learn any more, you can hit the link in the description box below, so be sure to give that a look if anything has piqued your interest. But now it's time to take a look at some of the highlights of releases coming out this week. The week kicks off with 2 games from developer Gust, the first being the action RPG Knights of Azure. Set in a land where monsters steal nighttime from humans, players follow the journey of 2 heroes who try to end the nightmare once and for all. The former PlayStation exclusive was met with a mixed reception when it released in Europe last year, but the PC version does come with all of the released DLC added for free, so it might be worth a look. Meanwhile, the second Gust title, also releasing on the 7th, is Ataliyah Sophie, the Alchemist of the Mysterious Book. Set in a much brighter and colourful setting, this JRPG follows a young girl who tries to find a way of turning a floating, talking book back into a human. While it's the 17th entry in the Ataliyah series, word is that it's more than capable of standing as its own game, and critics felt it was a rather delightful JRPG when it released on PS4 last year. Also out on the 7th is the console version of Uncanny Valley, a 2D survival horror game with bits of exploration, puzzle solving and action thrown in. Its unique selling point is its consequence system mechanic, where the game continues with penalties to the player should their character fail specific objectives to create a sense of dread during each playthrough. The critical reception of this one was rather mixed back in 2015, so hopefully the console release has had some much needed polish. Wednesday sees the release of what is arguably the week's biggest game, Nioh, the long-awaited ARPG from Team Ninja. Assuming the role of a Western samurai, players must fight their way through 17th century Japan that's been infested with supernatural beings called yokai. Its recent alpha and beta tests have helped build up the excitement in the run-up to Nioh's release, with it being compared to the Dark Souls series due to its progression system and high difficulty. Let's hope it manages to realise its potential after being in development since 2004. Finally, the modern take on the classic ASCII dungeon crawler Brutal arrives this week. Playable in both local and online co-op, players fight their way through procedurally generated dungeons that use ASCII symbols as the basis of its art design, giving a rather Tron-esque vibe to it all. However, early word on the game is that its systems lack any sense of depth, and the lack of variation in the dungeons means repetition sets in early. Still, if you're after a dungeon crawler to play with friends, it might be worth a look. And that's it for this week's Reload. If you haven't already, be sure to check out our reviews of Alwa's Awakening and Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8, as they are both live over on GameBuzz.tv and on our YouTube channel. As well as that, we will have our podcast, which is over on iTunes and SoundCloud, going live on Monday. And of course, I will be back with another episode of The Reload on Sunday. So, if you haven't already, be sure to hit the button, press subscribe, turn on notifications, ring that bell, other things that YouTubers say to get you to subscribe. What I'm trying to say, with that ridiculously long sentence, is click all of the things so you can be sure to stay up to date with our videos and content as it's published. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.